salvation of this nation.
My fellow Amberlanders, my apologies for the technical issues we had to deal with. Once more, Happy New Year to all of our people across the territory and our Biafran brothers on the other side. Thank you for your best wishes, and my best wishes to all of you today. Our forces are prisoners of war, our people, IDPs, and our refugees. Best wishes for 2024 and God's abundant blessings to all of you. And as you go about your daily activities under occupation, I would just like to address an issue which came to my attention before I came in here. It is not factored into my speech. My speech today is written, so you would permit me to read. I'm going to read. I'll take a couple of your time where I plead for your patience. Before I came into my office, I was reviewing a video of an arrested black leg in Fako by our forces who was apparently executed. I received that video when he was arrested, and I received it also when he was killed. I have sought clarity from our forces on the gravity of his crime. I think, and the rules are very clear. Those who spy for the enemy that leads to the death of our people or crimes committed against our people that meets the threshold of crimes against humanity, war crimes, and genocide will face the death penalty. Not all crimes meet that threshold, and if somebody walks within the council of under La République, the person should be arrested, detained, and rehabilitated. I have sought clarity on the gravity. I have also been informed that this individual was engaged in acts of spying. Once I get clarity, I will let you know. But make no mistake, we have lost more than 25,000 of our people. We have thousands of them locked up in jail. Prisoners' legs are getting rotten. Those who die in jail under chains. Massacres upon massacres will make us very clear about our policies going forward. That the greatest threat to our freedom, to the lives of our people, are those who enable the occupation, spy on our people on behalf of the enemy. My fellow compatriot, let me congratulate you for carrying yourself to the end of another turbulent year. A year like others that have been imposed on us by the Cameroon genocidal occupiers. For 62 chilling years, we confronted two mass murderers, Aijo and Bia. They used the levers of power at their disposal to murder, torture, rape, and detain our people without mercy. For 62 years, these mass murderers recruited from amongst us hundreds of thousands of willing accomplices in their enduring mission of occupation. They use Ambazonians as the face of their notorious crimes of occupation, war crimes, torture, daylight robbery of our resources. For 62 years, Ambazonian traitors became the poster boys and girls of an alien evil that robbed us of freedom, opportunity, and dignity. These painful experiences continue yearly because these mass murderers insist that we must succumb to their illegality or choose the nearest cemetery. Those who escape are hunted and brought back. When that fails, they use Ambazonian traitors to lodge frivolous charges against patriot volunteers abroad. The world has remained vexingly conspiring in their silence. As Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Chris Hedges spoke of the bestial nature of our bystanders in these chilling words: when those who are occupied refuse to submit, when they continue to resist, we drop all pretense of our civilizing mission and unleash, as in Gaza, an orgy of slaughter and destruction. We become drunk on violence. We kill with reckless ferocity. We become the beast we accuse the oppressed of being. We expose the lies of our vaunted moral superiority. We are the most ruthless and efficient killers of the planet. This enough alone is why we dominate the wretched of the world. My fellow people, for us to survive, we will have to destroy the ability of La République du Cameroon to commit mass murder, put an end to its expansionist desire, and ensure that those who take power in Cameroon respect their border and independence, put the protection of human dignity at the center of state actions, and pursue a domestic policy agenda that creates opportunities for its people. For us to succeed, all funds and chiefs who continue to help the enemy burn villages, massacre young people, and desecrate our palaces will face severe consequences. Let me remind these funds and chiefs that France once had a king. The 14th of July, 1789, saw the storming of the Bastille, which was a symbol of the king's power. We have struggled to preserve our tradition by preserving our palaces. We have struggled to preserve our tradition by preserving the lives of the custodians of our tradition. They have taken our leniency for granted. I am aware that across Ambazonia, some of these funds are meeting to target the family compounds of those who support our freedom. Let me send this chilling warning to all chiefs and funds and their associates. We will not only burn down your palace, your family name will never again exist in our villages. For us to succeed on the economic front, we have, and thanks to our forces and our people, wounded and bled Cameroon economy, which is struggling with trillions of amber in internal and external debts. The Cameroon economy has collapsed. We have almost shut down their economic potentials. They went for months without fuel and could not operate their wartime machines. We watched how long queues lined in front of fueling stations, begging for fuel, while they have auctioned our fuel in Bakassi to international cartels. They have failed to develop themselves in Amazonia. As of October 2023, their inflation rate was 7.7%, which exceeds the 3% tolerance threshold accepted in the CEMAC zone countries. This has led to a 12.3% increase in food prices and 12.6% rise in transportation costs. 5 La République companies cumulatively have unpaid debt of close to 200 billion amber. Cameroon government owes telephone and internet companies a whopping amount of 76 billion ambers. It owes a new 132 billion amber. You now understand why you have been having problems with MTN. If you can't pay your telephone and internet bills, you are done. It owes 102 billion in debt to construction companies. These are the same bastards who want to reconstruct Amazonia. They are so broke, they have now entered into driving school business to raise money. We, through our resilience, our economic sabotage, making ungovernability, have made Cameroon bankrupt. Our resilience, our persistence will crumble its ability to make war. We must root out the last vestiges of French neocolonialism from Amazonia. For this to happen, we must prosecute this war using all the pillars of resistance. In this light, my leadership has proposed a 2024 agenda which was adopted last Saturday. In the area of foreign policy, Amazonia under my leadership has adopted a strategic, non-confrontational foreign policy doctrine underpinned by universally acceptable international norms and values. It's our position that occupation is wrong, irrespective whether orchestrated by our friends or by our enemies. It is our position that crimes against humanity, war crimes, and genocide are so egregious that they defeat whatever ends they were committed in their pursuit. Amazonia believes in the coexistence of peoples and the right of every people to have a constitutionally enshrined right to self-determination. Where driven by realist ends of material benefits or value-driven ends, it is our position that consistency is critical for actor credibility in international relations. It is inconsistent to invest billions to end occupation in Ukraine while investing billions to sustain occupation in Palestine. It is inconsistent, and I would argue hypocritical, to refer Israel to the ICJ and embrace, promote, tolerate Cameroon genocide in Amazonia. It is inconsistent to declare that your country supports accountability system to investigate Israel military conduct, and that same country remains silent when that same conduct is called into question in Ambazonia by Cameroon's actions. It is our hope that while foreign policy must recognize sovereignty, non-intervention, and strengthen alliances, when it must be silent for justice. When it must speak for justice. I love my friends who tell me I am wrong, not the ones who remain silent when I'm wrong and loud when I'm right. We have declared that Cameroon has lost its diplomatic monopoly over Ambazonia when we became an international contender. We have disabused Cameroon of misrepresentation of the facts of our history, the merit of our claims, and the prospects of our victory. We have also made it clear that the end of this war is not synonymous to the end of the conflict. Only the end of occupation will translate into an end to the conflict. We have stated unambiguously that if presidents must dictate our preferences and actions, only an internationally mediated settlement or outright military victory will resolve the conflict. And we will do everything humanly possible to make sure that Ambazonia and not Cameroon ever represent the interests of our people. Our strategy in international affairs remains the internationalization and targeted diplomacy approach. Ambazonia is open to negotiate the end of the occupation and the conflict. For this to happen, we need good faith actors in Cameroon in both process and implementation. We have seen in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that it is one thing to negotiate outcomes, but quite another to implement them. We have seen in Western Sahara the lack of good faith in actors. It has taken one country to recognize self-governing in Somaliland. We came out of Canada talks affirming our legitimacy as equal contenders on the international stage, never to be treated as a region or province of another country. Ambazonia was heard, its identity affirmed, and its unity in both process and outcome cemented. It also offered us a rare opportunity to assess our team. The chaffs polluting the Ambazonian grains were blown away by the winds of change, exposing the daggers that they had concealed to stab the leadership and Ambazonians. In this light, Ambazonia must continue its internationalization strategy and build bilateral alliances for unilateral actions when the time comes. On Biafra, the Ambazonian Governing Council furthered its alliance with the indigenous people of Biafra and concretized it with the Helsinki Accord. Again, we congratulate our Biafran co-liberators for their lucidity to identify those working for genuine change in Africa. The Helsinki Accord actualizes the determination of our immediate neighbor on logistical and tactical support for the liberation of Ambazonia. It provides supply channels and fallback positions for our brave fighters, something missing when Cameroon signed a pact with Buhari to frustrate our march to self-determination. That is why the Biafra alliance is important. I have stated repeatedly in the past that in liberation wars our sentiments, feelings, and comforting preferences are never in alignment with the interests of others. Biafra is our most important ally in our struggle for freedom. It is not always about what they give or do for us. it is also what they will not do against us. The alliance with Biafra has produced tangible results. Rather than Nigeria having time colluding with Cameroon to arrest our people, it will spend that time dealing with insecurity created by the Biafran Liberation Army. Nigeria loses trillions of naira each sit at home. Rather than use its meager resources to support Cameroon, it will work hard to deal with the loss it incurs on Mondays in the Biafran sit at home. Through our combined efforts, its activities in Bakassi are being undermined, and confidence by foreign investors is reducing and impacting its ability to borrow and to sever its debt. The future is with Biafra, not Cameroon or Nigeria. With 70 million population of very creative and well-generating people, Ambazonia will have a market for its goods and services. On the Basque, we were also invited by the Basque president in 2023. While in Basque country, we built other partnerships, which has resulted in bilateral meetings with our Basque partners as they manifested through their determination to have autonomy from Spain. We look forward to this partnership as a broad way to the European Parliament. On Somaliland, I want to remind each and every one of you today that only a patient people who believe in themselves overcome adversities. Ethiopia's recognition of Somaliland after 32 years of struggle begins the gradual integration of Somaliland into the international community. We must therefore strengthen the relations we have already built with Somaliland and explore areas of common interest to advance both our liberation and post-independence cooperation. On Cameroon, I am aware key opposition figures of Cameroon and stakeholders are meeting with some of our comrades in jail, and I have encouraged these meetings. But let me remind these Cameroon denialists, I had told them not to make the mistake of failing to address us by our legal and historical coinage, Ambazonia. We are not a geographic region of Cameroon. We are not provinces of Cameroon. We are Ambazonians. We are Ambazonia, an internationally recognized territory and people. Finding solutions begins with recognizing truths that hurt. I have also warned Cameroonian stakeholders not to repeat the mistakes of 2018 by trying to impose elections on Ambazonians or by hoping to use democratic tools against a totalitarian killing machinery. People wonder what it takes to start a rebellion. They begin by analyzing the strength of their enemy. They imagine if they can win. They ponder how rebellion will alter their lifestyle. Cameroonian leaders must conclude that rebellion against Yaoundé will include armed resistance. I am ready to offer help in overthrowing and capturing the murderous puppets holding them hostage. The Foreign Affairs Department of the Ambazonian Governing Council will continue to work with all Ambazonian Governing Council missions across different countries to play a quasi role as our representatives on foreign affairs in these countries, specifically to undermine Cameroon's colonial narrative, to push hard against countries also selling arms to the genocidal regime. AGOFC missions will strengthen existing coalitions and source out support, build new alliances with like-minded organizations, movements, and friendly nations. These missions would establish relationships with countries with a history of support for people's freedom and shared interest in our goals. This will include identifying and engaging with relevant international organizations and forums that align with our vision and our goals. The essence is to galvanize support to tackle the many challenges we face during this war. This will include crisis response initiatives, providing humanitarian support to affected populations and education in emergencies. In the area of human rights, the protection of human rights, human dignity, and the guarantee of security remains the basis of the legitimacy of any government. Failure, incapability, unwillingness forms the grounds by any people to establish an accountable government over their nations. Ours is not simply a violation of human rights, it is genocide. In its submission to the International Court of Justice in December against Israel's actions in Gaza, South Africa argues as follows: the acts and omissions by Israel complained of by South Africa are genocidal in character because they are intended to bring about the destruction of a substantial part of the Palestinian national, racial, and ethnic group, that being the part of the Palestinian group in the Gaza Strip, Palestinians in Gaza. The acts in question include killing Palestinians in Gaza, causing them serious bodily and mental harm, and inflicting on them conditions of life calculated to bring about their physical destruction. This was a submission made by South Africa to the International Court of Justice against Israel's actions in Palestine. It is hypocritical, as I stated, that South Africa would describe genocide in these words, but in the past 7 years has remained silent to the crimes of genocide being committed by Cameroon in Ambazonia. There is genocide in Ambazonia. No one cares what we do. The Department of Human Rights and Humanitarian Affairs has been authorized to ensure the continuous documentation of the crimes of genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity being committed against our people for purposes of accountability. We will not forgive Cameroon and all the actors it has used to commit these crimes. We will hold each Cameroon soldier and their associate Ambazonian collaborators accountable. Apart from sending perpetrators to jail and the grave, we will work to ensure that families and individuals who are victims of Cameroon's crimes are financially compensated and rehabilitated. Still in the area of human rights, the department has been authorized and has outlined a series of ambitious projects scheduled for realization in 2024. Within these efforts, the department leads initiatives focused on aiding U.S. citizens and permanent residents in facilitating the resettlement of Ambazonian refugees through the Welcome Call program, as officially announced by the U.S. government. Ambazonians interested in sponsoring Ambazonian refugees are encouraged to contact the Department of Human Rights and Humanitarian Affairs for further information. These initiatives also encompasses economic empowerment of our refugees and internally displaced persons, providing seed capital for 12 individuals in 2024. Additionally, the department plans to conduct quarterly visits to Ambazonian prisoners of war held in various prisons and compile a comprehensive catalog documenting all war crimes committed by Cameroon in Ambazonia. Furthermore, the department collaborates with the Department of Education to offer scholarships to Ambazonians in Africa south of the Sahara, intending to pursue studies in cybersecurity. In 2024, 15 scholarships opportunities, each valued at $3,500, will be available to Ambazonians. The department remains committed to advocating for increased awareness and condemnation of Cameroon's transgressions in Ambazonia throughout the year, among various other ongoing endeavors. To all Ambazonian prisoners, not everyone becomes a political prisoner. Not everyone is a Mandela. In the life history of a struggling people, God selects some for the grave, others for jails, some are sent into exile, and others are kept in open spaces for resistance. Wherever you find yourself, God has given you a special mission to fulfill. To be the face, the symbol of our collective pain and defiance. I do not only guarantee your freedom, but I promise that you will become the prison superintendent of jails holding your current kidnappers. We will hunt them wherever they hide around the world and bring them back for accountability. As I wrote before, going forward, we will reciprocate by ensuring we arrest Cameroonians in exchange for our own prisoners. Do not consider your time in jail as wasted. You count every minute as work time. Ambazonia recognizes the debt and shall pay you in due course. In the area of education, my fellow people, for over 60 years, a curriculum of education was marketed for purposes of indoctrination and enslavement. 95% of the books we read and still read were written by colonial apologists, corrupt male chauvinists. Books that internalize an ideology where the main viewpoint was Cameroon, colonial, male, and oppressive. We are looking at our education curriculum to simplify it, to give a chance to our learners to be competitive on the world stage. A return to the standard education system of the former British Southern Cameroons, where the 3 R's will be our best solution to 7 years of no schooling. We will lay emphasis on reading, writing, and arithmetic. With these crucial skills, our learners will adjust to educational systems in the world. All classes could be mixed without discrimination of ages. After a learner proves he or she masters the 3 R's, they will then prepare for all available syllabuses and examinations within 2 years and pass. In February of 1942, the puppet government of Norway, installed by Nazi Germany, passed 2 laws with the aim of Nazifying Norwegian education. Nazi Germany believed that the Norwegian education must be aligned to National Socialist perspective. Norwegian teachers did not take that nonsense. They did not fear the almost 400,000 strong German occupying force. They did not compromise. They did not succumb. They fought back. More than 1,000 were arrested and about 500 deported to the coldest part of northern Norway for forced labor. Education is the key for unlocking enormous human potentials and empowering our people to conquer the world. It is, however, a double-edged sword which can be used for good and bad intents and purposes. In the hands of a free and independent country like the one which we are fighting to achieve, it can be used positively to liberate, empower a people to creatively solve societal problems, and lead people to live free and prosperous lifestyles. On the other hand, rogue elements and colonial masters can use education negatively in order to colonize, assimilate, and indoctrinate the people to hate themselves, their roots, and their cultural heritage, and at the same time fine-tune them to like the enemy more than they do their people and socio-cultural background. This explains why all countries are so concerned about country-specific education curriculums tailored to project their sovereignty and specificities. This is done with the understanding that if you allow an enemy to educate your children, they will end up joining forces with the enemy to fight you like the traitors, infiltrators, enablers, and blacklegs are doing in Ambazonia today. In this light, it cannot be a wise decision for Ambazonians to allow a sworn enemy state that has been committing socio-cultural and physical genocide on our people for 63 years counting to continue to miseducate our children and cause us more harm than good. It is quite unfortunate to acknowledge that the system of education which Ambazonians unanimously rebelled against in 2016 and have boycotted it since then until date still remains part and parcel of our upbringing. Our people are being held onto by greedy people who do not care about the collective good, but look only at their short-term benefits. Meanwhile, in 2016, we were all in agreement that this system of education was the source of our collective destruction as a people, for it made us liabilities instead of assets in our communities, country, and the global stage. This obsolete system of education made us slaves to La République du Cameroon and made it impossible for most of our school graduates to be able to solve any societal problems or transition to the job place with ease. Far from lamentations, the Ambazonian Education Board, under my stewardship, has worked tremendously hard with subject specialists and key education stakeholders at home and abroad to replace the rejected French Cameroon-led education system with an indigenous Ambazonian education system shaped by the Ambazonian Community Education Policy and Ambazonian Curriculum of Education and Ambazonian Community Education Strategic Implementation Paper. Independence means independence. Education is a sovereignty project which showcases who owns and runs the state of Ambazonia. Hence, as vanguards of our Ambazonian War of Liberation, we invite all meaning citizens, all Ambazonian freedom fighters and nationalists to join us in order to successfully fund Amba education, especially through the liberation tax, and work hard to take it out of the hands of the enemies, especially in all urban areas where they still hang on. So far, we are successfully running Ambazonian community schools in rehabilitated classrooms, following the new curriculum of education in liberated areas in collaboration with the Ambazonian transitional authorities. We provide didactic materials for students and teachers and continuously offer refresher courses to teachers in order to keep them abreast with the educational reforms. Furthermore, we have, in an attempt to increase coverage of out-of-school children in all the 63 school districts in Ambazonia and refugee camps, introduced the e-learning program, which offers online classes to all Ambazonians across the globe. We invite all who have smartphones and computers with internet connectivity to enroll and study relevant skills in preparations for a fully independent Ambazonia. We are also in the process of setting up more ICT centers to serve as catchment areas where people who lack smartphones and gadgets can assemble and learn. Thus far, we have realized 3 of such ICT centers already with minimal equipment to run e-classes. We will continue to build back better and serve more districts. With more resources at the disposal of the Ambazonian Education Board, much more will be achieved in terms of upgrading the infrastructure and equipment of specialized classrooms. I would like to appeal to Ambazonian village development and cultural groups, associations, civil society organizations, church associations, ex-students, elites, and business persons at home and abroad to join hands to advance the educational reforms and support the work currently going on as Ambazonian community education officially resumes in liberated areas on the 17th of January 2024. My dear comrades, your support in kind and cash is highly solicited. My fellow people, in the area of defense, we honor the men and women of the Raktak brigades who have left bloody footprints in their daily struggle to liberate and defend the independence and territorial integrity of Ambazonia. We honor the bravery of the untrained men and women of Ambazonia, the patriot volunteers who bury their fallen, still raise their rifles, man the posts, and keep fighting. Never in the past 62 years of slavery and occupation have we encountered a selfless group of people who abandon everything, pick up spears, then guns, and heeded the call of their leaders to defend an idea whose time had come. They have liberated villages, dismantled enemy barracks, checkpoints, delegitimized an arrogant and brutal political occupation, and sent into exile impostors and traitors whose life has been dedicated to betrayal. They have given us pride every 1st of October, strengthened our nationalism, and they have for 7 years humiliated the enemy every 11th of February, 20th of May, and during every election's call to legitimize occupation. Ambazonian forces against all odds have elevated Ambazonia, given its diplomacy teeth, and most importantly, given us respect and honor. Yet, despite this bravery, we have also seen many limitations which we must address and fix. Lack of command and control in certain forces. Command and control is important in discipline, protection from infiltration, resource accumulation and management. Lack of command and control leads to corruption, embezzlement, increase in the possibility of infiltration by elites, enemy forces, and tribal cartels. Lack of regular and constant supply of materials for our fighters, coordination and collaboration for maximum impact. A force can only be effective in achieving military, economic, and political objectives if it is properly resourced. If our forces are properly supplied, it will prevent forces leaving barracks. It will limit crimes and harassment. It will prevent unnecessary death of soldiers, commanders, and officers. It will enhance protection of our civilians and reduce enemy incursions to commit massacre, burn homes, and destroy properties. Lack of proper operational training. Our forces need training on ambush, ability to dismantle enemy bases, and other tactical abilities required in this kind of asymmetric warfare. In Eritrea, liberation forces in 4 spaces: the air, on the ground, at sea, and underground. Underground tunnels were critical in ensuring the movement of materials and forces, operation of secret hospitals, and other activities. In Gaza, forces have dug elaborate tunnels across a wide area, including across international borders, to safeguard movement of forces and materials. In Vietnam, the Viet Congs did not fight the Americans on the surface. They used traps, tunnels, trenches, and other concealed methods to increase the challenge the American face. For us to eliminate La République in the shortest time possible, we must employ a novel approach that combines guerrilla and semi-conventional methods. Amazonian forces must consider themselves as employees of the state. They should get up every day, train, dig tunnels, dig trenches, build bunkers. They must not get up every day and sit on TikTok, Facebook, and long hours on calls. All barrack commanders must have service phones. The private phones of soldiers must be in the possession of commanders. They can have it once or twice a day to communicate with known family members. All phones owned by commanders should only operate Signal or WhatsApp, no Facebook, direct calls. All phones must only have numbers of known wives or known girlfriends or parents, and communications must be regularly checked by commanders. Your action as a soldier must not endanger your life and the lives of others. In 2023, we achieved a lot in the direction of statewide collaborations and coordinations, communication synergy on threats, little funding across states for common actions, and bringing back peripheral units. In key areas, in 2024, we plan to spend 120 million amber across the territory on targeted resistance to reduce mobility of the enemy, stop the faces of treachery in enablers and traitors assembling behind our lines, and remove treacherous funds from the throne. When a government that claims to be in charge measures its success based on our failures, then you must conclude you have been in charge. We must claim that ownership and take serious measures to consolidate, expand, and dismantle the enemy's political and military infrastructure. If we succeed in all of these little but important issues, including mobilizing enough funds, we should be able to take over and control states in 2024. My fellow countrymen and women, all the above programs are only possible if we mobilize enough funds to invest in them. I can smile because I am very grateful to all of you who have paid their liberation tax. For the first time, you've given our forces a budget. And if you continue in the same depth, breadth, and speed, we will be able to invest a lot of money every month for resistance while preparing to liberate states. With consistent funding, we will eliminate the threats on our people, forces, and strengthen sovereignty projects like education, public health, and community development. When you take your child to school, you are engaged in a liberation struggle. You want your child to acquire knowledge as an instrument of liberation. When the child have good grades, you pay fees. When the child has bad grades, you pay fees, and sometimes you pay for extra classes. How many of you will remove your child from school and allow them to remain as illiterates because they did not do well in school? This is how a liberation struggle works. You buy more guns, you hire more soldiers, you commit more money to help your country to be free. The liberation tax is not only the best thing that has happened to our liberation struggle because it gives us money. It is also important because for the first time we are able to make soldiers become accountable. We are able to reduce extortion, reduce kidnapping for ransom, and more importantly, mobilize resources for our forces to have a working budget. We have to pay our liberation taxes. This is the best way to fund our activities, build a strong, transparent, and just institutions which cannot be destroyed by the corrupt nature of the regime. Fellow Ambazonians, the liberation tax is the best policy for a civilized contribution towards the war effort. Carry your tax receipts, which will be recognized throughout our liberated territories. Nobody will harass you for performing your civic duty to liberate Ambazonia. Only the enemies of Ambazonia protest against the liberation tax. Unfortunately, allow the terrorist Cameroon genocide occupiers to continue looting, raping, killing, burning our compatriots. Some of these groupings and their leadership have not yet apologized to Ambazonia for siphoning funds they collected for the liberation. We will not disregard these backing dogs. The people of Ambazonia will arrest, try them for treason, and treat them accordingly if found guilty. My fellow people, may each and everyone fight as if they were alone. Defend your bloc like the last man standing. Winston Churchill, while he led the resistance against the invading Nazi forces, said, "Still, it is in the primary right of men to die and to kill for the land they live in, and to punish with exceptional severity all members of their own race who have warmed their hands at the invaders' heath." I address you today far away from homeland. From where I speak, there were more German occupiers per head of the population than anywhere else in Europe. During the Norwegian occupation, there were between 100 to 400,000 German occupiers. Norway then had a population of less than 3 million. Norway was the most dependent on food imports. The Norwegian underground resistance also faced enablers. They had their own Atanganjis. They had their own Diongutes. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, they fought. They blew up rail lines, bridges, and engaged in relentless sabotage actions to defeat the enemy and take back their country. We have embarked on a similar journey, and we must never back down. Short live the liberation, long live Ambazonia. God bless you all.
Amazonia, special loyalty. Presence of our Savior who granted us the freedom. Our legends to the hero who fought along with Diablo. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation flowing rivers of holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father, for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation.
Ambazonia Defense Forces, the vanguards of the Ambazonia War of Independence.
For 50 years, these two mass murderers used violence and deception to keep Ambazonia hostage. Most Ambazonian patriots succumbed and enabled the dismantling of our political institutions. Then came the commander-in-chief, the leader of the never-again generation, and prescribed iron for iron, block by block, and fire for fire. Today, 7 years after Ambazonia has emerged, it has an army, run its own schools, let's pay our liberation tax to raise a budget to take our struggle to the next level.
Ambazonia Defense Forces, the vanguards of the Ambazonia War of Independence.